Hello World Wide Web, I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair, and it feels really good reviewing all of these really well-known movie series, but, you know, I do kind of miss all those oddball titles I found when I was reviewing whatever crap I could find in a 12-pack of movies on a DVD. But hey, this is my show, so I can do whatever the fuck I want. With that in mind, we're going to dig into a sci-fi original production. You can go ahead and click the dislike button now if you want. This film, Convict 762, is surprisingly enough science fiction! And it takes place in outer space. Which is like the only two things the DVD box even got right. I mean, look at that. The guy looks like Riddick, and he doesn't. No one in the movie is even bald. But, there, the spaceship's on fire. That never happens. And there's the tagline, the more he kills, the stronger he gets. Doesn't have a fucking thing to do with the events in this movie. So then what the hell is this movie about? It's the old dark house in space. Spaceship crew ends up stranded on a far-off rock, there's no one around to help. Spooky things happen, and the body count rises. I'm starting to think these should have been called Sci-Fi Channel derivative works. Anyway, let's take a look at Convict 90210 and see if it really is an artistic original production. Or a PlayStation 1 game. In any case, the film opens up by trying to freak us out, showing up the makeup department painting burn marks on someone, spliced alongside footage of the cast members finding out just how much they were getting paid for this.
You've been at this for 16 hours. How come you don't look tired?
At what?
I like this. This is what I do.
What the hell do you do? What is this? What is your job? Well, it involves storing miscellaneous things somewhere, so let's go with Space Trucker. With our crew of Captain Nile, played by Shannon Sturges, Austin by Michelle White, sisters Lincoln and Sheridan, played by the unrelated Meryl Kennedy and Chandelin, and Charlie Spradlin as Helena.
Reno, are you done with that navigational report?
Lastly, Tawny Fair as Reno, and you probably realize this by now, but the entire ship's crew is made up of women. Not only women, but chicks, mid-20s, and with a large stock of makeup, evidently. Sure you're wondering why. They are!
Estimated time of completion, 4 minutes.
And we get our first crisis. Nile wants the nav report, but it will take 4 minutes to compute!
Okay, Cap, sure. Smooth sailing as usual, no problem.
Warning. Navigational report incomplete.
Fuck everything up royally! I mean, what exactly was Nile going to do if you replied, it's gonna take 4 more minutes? Unless you were supposed to start it earlier, but we never saw that. Let's see how far they go before the lack of a navigational report fucks everything up.
Homeward bound. It's been a long haul, ladies.
Holy Christ!
About 10 feet! Do they not have a cockpit window either? And then again, the actors keep going on about things materializing around them, so maybe these were supposed to be other kinds of obstacles, who knows. Point is, Nile's quick thinking brings the ship into the one asteroid glowing blue. Why is it glowing? Come up with any reason, that's more than the writers give us. Unfortunately, they scratch their paint job, which is a lot worse than it sounds.
I'm red lines and meltdown! Jettison fuel cells! Cells away!
That paint just so happened to be load-bearing paint, which was evidently connected directly to their extremely fragile nuclear fuel cells. This provides our crew with the huge explosion which they must escape, which awkwardly segues into the mess hall, where we see the tension begin.
If you ever give me an incomplete navigational report again, I will relieve you of duty and haul you back as cargo.
Her incompetence damn near got the entire crew killed, yet verbal warning. At very least, she should get a write-up sent off to not Weyland-Yutani for evaluation. Slightly bigger problem right this minute, they lost 80% of their fuel cells in that little stunt.
And we don't have enough fuel to make it back to Ares 8.
You're in space. Friction isn't exactly much of an issue. Pick a direction, boost, and wait. But in this universe, space does function via miles per gallon. Thus, they must make a pit stop for fuel, and there's only one place in quote-unquote range, Fury 161.
The penal colony.
Yep.
I mean, Caesarian 4, which is a prison planet. Who keeps thinking it's a good idea to colonize planets just to store prisoners? And even if they did, wouldn't it just turn into a sci-fi version of Australia?
Sheridan, you said this was going to be an easy gig.
So, how dare your sister not know that a completely unrelated crew member would not do their job and fuck everything up and cause a crisis situation? Is this what passes for character building?
Are you sure about refueling at Caesarean 4? I've heard a lot of things about that place, all of them bad.
Well, she just established it was your only fucking option. Unless you really think starving to death out in the coldest space is something worth voting on. When they get within communications range, strangely, no one responds to their hailing. Therefore, Niall decides to violate protocol and land there anyway. I mean, they established that. It's like trying to make her come off like a badass or something, but they've already said that this is the old dark house that they are trapped in, so there's no more reasons to tackle on motivations. Just go already. At this point, they do manage to get a signal from somewhere on the base.
Yeah, it's my day, you bastard! I'll kill you! I'll kill you! I'll kill you! Die, you bastard! No blood! No blood for you! No blood for you!
So they found the talk radio channel. Whatever it was, it doesn't deter them from bringing their Enterprise lightsaber ship ever closer to the planet's surface, ignoring the automated warnings, right up until they are close enough to spot two men in a clearing.
Well, now we know why we couldn't raise anybody. They're too busy kicking the hell out of each other. What do you think?
Okay, so now I'm torn between PlayStation 1 game and one of Sega's old holographic arcade machines. They frighten the poorly dressed combatants with even worse quality CGI, ending the fight, allowing one of the men to escape back into the installation, while the crew recovers the other, Vigo, played by Frank Zagarino, who's had his share of TV and low-budget movie roles, but what personally stands out for me is the 1984 film Love Lines, where he played Godzilla. I'd have saved him too. Quarantining their new visitor, Vigo explains the plot to the audience. Evidently, he and the other man are the only two men left on the planet. There was a huge riot, led by the infamous Convict 762, which became all-out war between the prisoners and the guards. Even the life support systems were damaged, killing everyone except for him and the other.
Who is he?
762! He's the killer! He killed all of them!
Just wondering, though, why the fuck were there guards on a prison planet? I mean, it makes sense in Alien 3, they put the prisoners to work, but here they just drop them off. You don't need guards for that.
This guy's not even human.
That's also the plot of Alien 3, and not the plot of this movie, so stop it!
Do you think one guy really poses that kind of a threat?
Yes!
Do you think this movie could spend any more time trying to ham up its cliché plot?
Yes!
Niall, though, sticks to her guns and says they must get to the bay and refuel.
We don't have a choice.
Yes, you mentioned that, like, 8 fucking times! The planet could be falling into a black hole and you would still need that full tank of gas. With Vigo as their guide, Niall pilots the ship over to the bay, right into the minefield! Somehow, despite a nick on the hull fucking up their day quite badly earlier, this is nothing more than a minor inconvenience and is quickly forgotten. They've got more important things to worry about.
But the refueling sequence is negative.
We'll have to do it manually.
Turns out the gas station is self-serve only. Figures. Vigo volunteers to be the one to head outside the ship and hook it up for refueling.
I'm sure your people are qualified, but they don't know the sequence, and I do. That will save time, and that's the most important thing.
And besides, I've got a membership card. 10 visits and I get a free 20-ounce Coke. The ladies soon figure out, however, that their friend may have ulterior motives, as amongst his belongings they find a prison uniform. Of course, they can't stop bickering long enough to figure out what to do about it, but then the fuel starts pumping.
Vigo, this is Niall. What's your status? Vigo, are you receiving me?
Oh well, they lost their completely unnecessary spare crew, but they're getting their fuel, so no problem, right?
Ship is refueling. Time of completion, 9 hours, 14 minutes.
Okay, how the hell much time did Vigo save you if it's still taking over 9 hours to get the fuel? And how the hell does it take over 9 hours to pump fuel when it took you less than 9 seconds to get rid of it? But this is so much time, they must come up with a plan.
I don't know about you ladies, but I want to get off this planet.
So stay on the ship, lock the door, wait for the fuel, and go? Nah, that would be too easy. Besides, Austin has discovered another peculiar transmission.
And then this.
Re-establishing that they should stay the fuck in the ship where they already have everything they need?
Let's move out. We need to locate the beacon, find any survivors, and get the hell out of here.
Why? And didn't they already establish that those two guys were the only 2 men left alive on the planet? I mean, if you do find anyone else, who the hell are you going to find? This is a prison planet. You're going to be getting murderers and rapists and MP3 file sharers. It's dangerous to go alone, so fucking everybody leaves the ship, except for Lincoln. Predictably, this means by the time the rest of the crew discovers the distress beacon is coming from some dead guys hanging out together...
Lincoln, do you read me? Lincoln, come in.
Oh, the person they had left all by their lonesome, for no apparent reason, ended up being singled out by the killer to be killed. Next thing you know, they're going to surprise us with the revelation that they have a spaceship. Even better, on their way back to the ship, they realize that Helena is not with the group. No idea why not, but that's how it is. Can't slow down, so they get back to the ship and find that the killer is anything but subtle.
Stay with us, we need you.
She needed me!
She also could have used one of the multitude of guns that you guys ran off with. Or, hell, at the very least, have been reminded to not open the door for anyone but the crew. Might have helped a tad. They sweep the area looking for the intruder, which leads them to Billy Drago playing the role of Mannix. He claims to not be the killer, but one of the guards. As it turns out, he's right there in the site's records, so he's telling the truth. That doesn't make him sound any less crazy, though.
He's gonna kill every single one of you. He's gonna kill everything.
Well, since you put it that way, sedative now! Of course, this means the crew has to break down and engage in infighting. More than usual, I mean.
That's enough! That's enough! Enough!
You know that they stopped the first time you said that.
Enough!
I'm just saying. Niall tells them that their priority is simply to wait until they refuel and take off when possible. Still. Unfortunately, though, Reno is doing everything in her power to be a divisive, manipulative cunt.
Just look at him. He isn't worried about anything. He ate like a horse. Because he's the one. And I think we should take him out now.
I'm sure you're wondering what her motivations are to be doing this. I mean, it was her fuck-up that got them in this situation in the first place, and she's doing everything she can to make things worse as things go along. So, why? Because those are her character traits. There's no reason to give any kind of explanation beyond that.
Just take your gun and do what you do best.
Take her gun and cry? What the fuck's that gonna do? Simply put, it gives Mannix a chance to escape their custody and their ship, running out to kill the elusive 762. Before things can calm down too much, we find out that Vigo has returned, with Helena in his arms. Despite the ship finally being ready to take off, he warns that the shields are up, and they'll never make it if they go.
I'm setting her down.
Full, reverse, thrust.
Vigo, we're picking you up.
I copy.
And considering his warning about the outer shield, what other choice did they really have?
Airlock, manual.
Murder! Okay, I guess they could go with murder. This act of cruelty doesn't manage to kill Vigo. Don't worry though, Helena, who was said earlier to be barely alive, is now dead. Congrats, Reno, we hate you even more.
Take him to sick bay.
What for? They're dead.
Will someone please kick her out of the ship? It's really starting to look like she's the real killer. That would be too smart for this crew. Still, they test Vigo's word about the outer shield by throwing together a makeshift probe so they can check.
Probe destroyed.
Okay, got that? 57 minutes in, and we finally have a new crisis for the crew to worry about. They can't leave the planet because of a shield array. I wonder what kind of zany adventures this will lead to. More talk about the legendary 762, which hints that it's more of a concept than a physical person, as evidently prisons don't number inmates anymore. Vigo has more knowledge about the shield problem, though.
It can only be operated from the main control room, and it cannot be deactivated remotely. And I'm the only one who knows where it is.
Oh, okay. Doesn't that mean that you're the only one who could have activated it? Anyone else going to pick up on that? Nah, they'll just load up and march into the base yet again, this time taking Vigo along deliberately, though not arming him. Also, they don't bother leaving anyone back on the ship, not even Sheridan, who is clearly losing her mind at this point. Yet they can trust giving her a weapon.
Go back to the ship and we're gonna be there as soon as we can. It's gonna be okay. Just go back to the ship.
Having your clearly troubled members split off from the rest of the group while a homicidal maniac is running around. Brilliant! Fucking brilliant! especially considering Mannix is nearby, performing his daily NRA appreciation ritual. And wouldn't you know it, he's doing so at the facility's shield control machine things. Which would suggest that he's the one that set them up, except that Vigo said it himself that he was the only one who knew how earlier. But they were a guard. Vigo also was a guard, according to the thing. But the thing, the records actually might have been hacked earlier, so we... You know what? Fuck it. Firefight. Does no one know how to aim? Or is it actually canon that they are shooting blanks at each other? Oh, I guess not. Thus, Reno dies, and not one fuck is given. More importantly, while the men continue to try to kill each other, Niall and Austin move to shut the shields down. But then the computers explode. Fortunately, they can still patch in a 1-hour window of opportunity. By the way, remember how Sheridan was supposed to head back to the ship? Guess what? Again, I must ask, why the fuck didn't they just leave her back at the ship in the first place? Preferably with someone to watch her back. Someone besides Reno. As the last two survivors, Niall and Austin get back to the airlock, but a manual override triggers the decontamination process. We're talking hardcore decontamination here, which effectively kills the fuck out of Austin. Though Austin pulled that same shit on Mannix earlier, he escaped by pressing a little button by the door. What, was that button a one-use thing? So it's just Niall, Vigo, and Mannix. What to do?
Shoot him both!
Fair enough. Roll credits. Unfortunately, that's not what we get. Instead, Niall takes Mannix out, burning him alive. Assuming that Vigo was in fact the good guy all along, there's only one thing left to do. Whoa! We get it. How fucking long does this fucking go on for? About a minute and a half, until Niall remembers there's a mirror in the room, and it turns out... Vigo was 762 all along! Woo! Come on, act surprised. Thus, as she prepares him a meal, suddenly acting all 50s housewife on us, Vigo turns instantly into a stalker-killer monster, drastically changing his character. Entertaining, but jarring to say the least. Here's the kicker, though. Turns out Mannix is still alive, only very badly burned. This means that the men can get back to trying to kill each other, spliced in with their fight earlier in case we're too stupid to make the connection ourselves. Point is, Vigo is killed. Probably. And Mannix is victorious.
I owe you an apology.
Does that mean we get another 2-minute boning session with him? Nah, he just wants a band-aid and some Neosporin. Then, we get our big surprise. He was also 762! So then why didn't the men just kill themselves? Okay, so that's it? She just dies? I figured there'd be a little more to it than that, but... Oh well, that was Convict 8675309, and... It's a movie. That's probably the best thing that can be said about it. Cinematography-wise, it's not great. Remember, this is from '97, 4 years after Jurassic Park, and 1 year before the Sega Dreamcast was released in Japan, able to produce real-time graphics superior to this movie's CGI. Of course, the story is what matters most in a movie, and in that regard, this just kinda exists. It's clearly an old dark house plot, which isn't bad in and of itself, but they really don't do much with it besides putting it in space. Also, they put it in space in areas we have seen quite a few times already, with characters who are just about as one-note as they come. The most depth was between Sheridan and Lincoln. They're sisters! That's what passes for depth with these guys. If I have to pick out a favorite, I'd give it to Frank Zagarino. He did a good enough job with it, even if the writing was as basic as it came. Billy Drago certainly put a lot of heart into his role, but being 52 years old when this movie was made, it was quite a lot harder to see him as a legitimate physical threat to the 38-year-old Frank. Overall, Convict 762 is background noise. It's not so horrible you absolutely have to change it, but you wouldn't be missing much at all by not paying any damn attention to it while it's on. Still, it's possibly just barely worth 2 woefully out-of-place Star Trek duels out of 5. I mean, they tried, and got a little bit in there that was worth some. Yeah? Well, thank you all for watching. I've been Shado, and remember, subtext. It helps.
Steak and whipped cream.
Aim for the steak. See, that's for the pretty boy who brings me the steak.